Hey ladies and gents, welcome to my crossing tutorial for Pro Evolution Soccer 2021. Now there's three different types of crosses that you need to know about. There is the low cross, the normal cross and the high cross, plus the early cross modifier, which is the left bumper or L1 on your PlayStation 4 controller. I'm also going to be covering off in this tutorial how to head the ball and getting the timing right for heading the ball. So this is a normal cross, so just pressing the circle on your controller. The amount of power that you put on a cross determines the actual height of the cross. The kicking power of the player will determine how fast that cross is. And then when it comes to heading, you want to press the shoot button when the ball's about halfway between the crosser and the receiver. And when it comes to heading power, you want to aim for about 50% whenever you're heading in the penalty box. And the movement inside the penalty box will definitely be helped if you have a striker with high attacking prowess. These crosses at the near post are really effective, as you're seeing in these two examples. And you can quadruple your chances of scoring if you can get the player crossing the ball into the penalty box. Now sometimes you can actually take a quick free kick, so if you are fouled outside the penalty box, you have the opportunity to play a cross in. L1 is the early cross modifier, so I'm holding that as well as pressing the circle on my controller, and this just modifies the type of cross you'll do, and I tend to use it when I'm further away from goal. So once the cross comes in, I'm aiming for about 60% power because it's got a long way to go to my striker, which is Haaland, and then when the ball is about 50% of the way from the receiver to the striker again, I'm pressing the shoot button, and then again I'm aiming for 50% power. There used to be some controls where you could actually determine the type of header you perform. So if you wanted to perform a downward header, you could just press the shoot button followed by the through ball, and that would bring out a downward header, but that is no longer in these versions of PES. Now we're going to look at one of the most effective crosses, which is the low cross. So it's a double tap of the circle button, and again aim for about 50% power when you're crossing with these, and then it's usually just a simple tap in for your striker. So really good if you can get to the byline with these. You may notice me pressing the button 3 times, and that's because in the old versions of PES you have to press it 3 times. And when you are receiving these drilled crosses, just make sure that you're pressing shoot again when the ball is about halfway between the receiver and the crosser. And you can see here a little bit of player ID there from Martial with the sexy little finish. Now let's take a look at the high cross, and you're seeing here again I'm applying the L1 modifier, and that's because I'm behind the edge of the penalty box. So if you're behind the edge of the penalty box, you have to hold L1, otherwise it's going to be more or less like a lob pass. So remember, to initiate a high cross you have to hold the right trigger or R2 on your controller, and this is ideal for firing these crosses to the back post. But generally, if it is a packed penalty box, I wouldn't bother doing it because it's far too easy for the AI to defend. So yeah, just remember, if you are behind the penalty box, make sure you're enabling the early cross. This is a normal early cross, and that just allows me to ping it and give that little bit of swerve with these early crosses. Now, one of the special techniques I really like to use is the early cross from this position with the R2 held down, which obviously makes it a high early cross, but aim for around 50 to 60% power, and you're going to get this effect here where you just like literally whip it to the back post and your striker can peel in behind. Ideal when the defense is really nice and straight like this across the penalty box, and you can just like whip it around, and sometimes the AI don't always get to head those away. So let's cover the key talking points around crossing and heading. Let's start with the heading and timing of your headers. Remember that pressing shoot is jump and not head the ball, so you have to press it before the ball reaches your player. The speed of the cross can also impact your timing. A faster or shorter cross will need an earlier shoot button press than a slower or longer cross. So what makes a good crosser? Well, let's start off with the important stats. Obviously, lob pass is the biggest influencer of how well your player is going to cross the ball. Speed, acceleration and dribbling stats are also nice to have, because obviously you're going to need to beat your opponent if you're not going to be playing it to a player in space. When it comes to player skills, probably the most important player skill of all, to be honest, is the pinpoint crossing, and especially for those that you want to cross with. Having a great crosser is only half the battle. You need a great striker to get on the end of those crosses. So what makes a great receiver of crosses? Well, these stats that I'm going to mention now are probably the most important, and attacking prowess is the most important of them all. That will allow the striker to make decent runs to receive the cross in the first place. Then The second most important is obviously heading, followed by finishing. Other things that will certainly help are height, but it's not all that important, to be honest. And when it comes to player roles or play styles, definitely a fox in the box seems to be better than the goal poacher and target man. I find that target men tend to come forward during the build-up of play and sometimes are a little bit too late to get into the box. Okay, ladies and gents, that brings me to the end of the tutorial for crossing and heading, and hopefully you guys found this useful. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button. And if you haven't got any questions, then just drop a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and tick that notification bell. That would be a great help to this channel. Thank you everyone for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in my future videos. Cheers guys, bye bye.